The basil in my hands crinkles softly. A sun-warmed green perfume rises when I crush it between my fingers. Tonight, 3 small jars from 1 handful of leaves, a bright basil shrub to sip or spritz, a tiny jar of toasted basil finishing salt to lift a bowl, and a short, cooling basil steam for a quiet reset. Stick with me and you'll have all 3 finished this evening. Welcome back to Earthy Remedy. I'm Fiona Thompson, where nature's wisdom becomes everyday wellness. Today's episode is practical, sensory, and deliberately slow, perfect for cooking along. If you love small batch kitchen craft or want simple, low-waste ways to use a generous bunch of basil, you're in the right place. Full recipes, photos, and a safety checklist are in the show notes if you want to follow along visually. Quick note before we start. I'll read ingredients slowly and pause between steps so you can do them with me. If you're listening while driving or busy, save this episode and come back when you can stand at your counter. Ready? Let's begin. A small kitchen problem. Have you ever been gifted a massive bunch of basil and felt that little tug, the urge to hoard it in the fridge until it wilts, or to let it go because it's too much? I remember a neighbor handing me a plastic bag of basil once, 15 stems deep, bright as a summer porch. For a day, I admired it. Then for 2 days, I worried. I didn't want to waste it, but I also didn't want a pile of browning leaves. That impulse to keep, to waste, to overcommit is perfectly human. What I love about tonight's approach is it turns that handful into 3 small rituals, each finished and useful tonight. A little bottle of shrub that wakes drinks and salads, a tiny jar of toasted salt that seasons without fuss, and a cooling steam that's a 2-minute breath reset. Small, tidy, generous. Segment 2. Plain plant and pantry science. Let's be quietly clear about where basil's magic lives. Basil's aroma comes from volatile essential oils held in tiny glandular hairs on the leaves. These compounds, things like linalool and eugenol, are what you smell when you crush a leaf. Heat, acid, and drying each change those volatiles in different ways. A quick warm vinegar infusion captures bright, fresh notes without long maceration. Toasting leaves briefly shifts the aroma. It becomes toasty, slightly nutty, deeper, and that's perfect for a finishing salt. The science behind this matters because it tells us how to preserve freshness and when to apply heat. Acid helps pull and stabilize volatile aroma, which is why a lightly warmed vinegar over packed leaves yields a fragrant shrub fast. Gentle heat releases a different set of flavors. So for sage, segment 3, who this suits tonight. A quick safety reminder. If you have severe asthma or known fragrance sensitivity, skip the steam and use a closed jar sniff instead. If someone in your household is pregnant, nursing, or an infant is present, adapt or skip near-face steam. Always rinse basil well under running water and pat or spin fully dry before making preserved items. We'll also do brief fabric and skin patch checks before any near-face use. I'll walk you through those steps in a moment. Segment 4. Quick yields and what we're making. By the end of this episode, you'll have a basil shrub concentrated to about 120 to 150 milliliters ready to dilute for sipping or spritzing. A tiny jar, 2 to 3 tablespoons of toasted basil finishing salt, and 1 short cooling basil steam cup, strained and cooled to a comfortable scent temperature. You can use tonight. Segment 5. Recipe walkthrough. We'll move slowly. I'll read each ingredient, pause, list equipment, then we'll do numbered steps with timing cues. Remember, full written recipes are in the show notes if you want to follow visually. Let's start with ingredients. Adulations. Ingredients. Read slowly. For the basil shrub, single cup concentrate, 1 cup packed fresh basil leaves, lightly packed, about a generous handful, 120 milliliters apple cider vinegar, 2 tablespoons maple syrup, or 2 tablespoons granulated sugar as an alternative, a small sterilized 120 to 150 milliliter bottle or jar for finishing. For the toasted basil salt, single tiny jar, 1/3 cup dried basil leaves. If you don't have dried, use roughly 1 cup of fresh leaves toasted and cooled, 3 tablespoons flaky sea salt, optional half teaspoon fresh lemon zest for brightness, a 2 to 3 tablespoons sterilized jar. For the cooling basil steam, 1 inhalation cup, 1/3 cup loosely packed fresh basil leaves, 240 milliliters water, a small pot, a strainer or double-layered cheesecloth, a bowl to cool into, and a clean, soft cloth for a fabric mask steam method. I'll remind you about the patch tests before any near-face step. B. Equipment. Briefly. A small pot, teaspoon, fine sieve or cheesecloth, a sterilized 120 to 150 milliliter jar or bottle for the shrub, a small skillet for toasting, mortar or spice grinder or food processor to pulse the salt, and a timer or clock. If you prefer to spray the shrub as a spritz, use a clean 30 milliliter spray bottle after diluting the concentrate. Ready? Let's move into step by step. Step 2. Make the basil shrub. Measure 120 milliliters of apple cider vinegar into a small pot. Warm it gently over low to medium heat for about 1 to 2 minutes, just until it's steaming and you see tiny wisps of vapor, not boiling. You're warming the vinegar to help release aromatics, not cooking the basil. While the vinegar warms, pack 1 cup of fresh basil leaves into your sterilized jar. Tuck them in gently. A light press is fine. Step 3. Add sweetener. Add 2 tablespoons maple syrup or sugar into the warm vinegar and stir until mostly dissolved. Taste quickly with a clean spoon. This is concentrated and should be noticeably tangy with a touch of sweetness. Pour the warm vinegar and sweetener over the packed basil leaves, covering them fully. Seal the jar and let it steep at room temperature for 30 to 60 minutes for same evening use. I recommend 30 minutes if you want a brighter, greener note. 60 minutes will be deeper. Step 4. While the shrub steeps, we'll make the toasted basil salt. If you're using dried basil, place 1/3 cup dried basil in a small dry skillet over low heat. Toast for 20 to 40 seconds, moving it in the pan with a spoon. You're watching and smelling. When the aroma lifts and becomes warm and almost nutty, remove it immediately. Don't let it brown. If you're starting with fresh basil, use 1 cup fresh leaves and toast briefly until the water scent fades and a warmer green note remains, about 30 to 40 seconds. Then let cool completely. Step 5. Pulse the toasted basil with 3 tablespoons flaky sea salt and the optional half teaspoon lemon zest. Use a mortar and pestle, a small spice grinder, or a quick pulse in a food processor. Watch the texture. You want a flaky, lightly flecked salt, not a green paste. If it seems damp, spread the mix on a clean plate to cool and dry for a few minutes before jarring. Transfer to your tiny jar and seal. The scent here should be bright, herbal, and a little toasty, perfect for finishing a bowl, avocado toast, or grilled vegetables. Step 6. Make the cooling basil steam. Bring 240 milliliters of water to a gentle boil. Then remove from heat. Add 1/3 cup loosely packed fresh basil leaves and cover. Steep for 6 to 8 minutes. This extracts a gentle green aroma without overcooking. Double strain through a fine sieve or cheesecloth into a clean bowl. Let it cool until it's warm, but not hot. Test the warmth on the inside of your wrist, exactly where you'd test bath temperature. Before any near-face use, do a fabric sniff test. Dip a corner of a clean cloth into the cooled infusion, hold it a comfortable distance from your face, and check for any irritation or strong reaction. If all is comfortable, place the bowl on a table. Wrap the cloth over your head and the bowl loosely to draw gentle steam for 1 to 2 minutes, only if you don't have respiratory sensitivity. Step 7. Finish the shrub for use. After the 30 to 60 minute steep, strain the vinegar through a fine sieve or cheesecloth into your sterilized bottle. Press the leaves gently to release liquid, but avoid squeezing leaf solids into the bottle. Your concentrate can be diluted for sipping. Try 1 part shrub to 4 parts water for a lively sip, or 1 part shrub to 10 parts water or sparkling water for a light spritz. For culinary use, a tablespoon or two per vinaigrette brightens salads. Keep the concentrate refrigerated and label with the date. Step 8. Quick tasting and serving ideas. For a simple tonic, mix 30 milliliter shrub with 120 milliliters chilled sparkling water. Add ice and a thin lemon slice. For a spritz on roasted tomatoes or mozzarella, dilute more. Try 1 to 8 and adjust. For cooking, use the finishing salt as you would any finishing salt. Sprinkle after cooking to keep its brightness. These small jars are meant to elevate, not overpower. Step 9. Cleanup and storage reminders. Label your jars with the date. Refrigerate the shrub within 2 hours and use within 10 to 14 days. The toasted basil salt is stable for weeks if fully dry. Store it in a cool, dry place and check occasionally for clumping or off odors. The basil steam is best same evening. You can refrigerate a covered bowl for up to 24 hours, but I recommend making it fresh when possible. Segment 6, Storage and Serving Tips Condensed. If a jar ever smells fizzy, yeasty, or shows mold, discard it. For small households, make single jar batches as we did today, so nothing lingers too long. For substitutions, if apple cider vinegar isn't available, use white wine vinegar at the same measure for a cleaner acidity. If you prefer not to use sweetener, omit it and know the shrub will be tangier. Taste and adjust. Segment 7. Safety, cautions, and when to avoid. I want to be very clear. These are culinary and sensory practices, not medical treatments. For near-face steam, do not do this for infants or anyone with severe asthma or breathing difficulties. Always perform a fabric patch test before steaming. Dip a clean cloth in the cooled infusion and hold it near your face at a distance you find comfortable. If you notice tightness, offing, or irritation, stop immediately. For skin patch tests before topical use, place a small dab of a diluted drip on the inside of your wrist and wait 24 hours. If you see redness, itching, or swelling, do not use it near your face or skin. Also, wash basil thoroughly to reduce pesticide residues or surface contaminants. Prefer culinary grade, organic, or homegrown unsprayed basil when possible. If anyone in your household is on medication, pregnant, or has health concerns, check with a qualified healthcare provider before introducing regular, concentrated herb preparations into your routine. Segment 8. Reflection and encouragement. Pause for a moment. If you have a finished jar in your hands, cradle it. Bring it near your nose and inhale slowly. Notice the green perfume, the warmth or coolness of the glass, the tiny ritual you made from a single handful. Small acts like this are practical and grounding. They teach stewardship. 1 bunch, 3 useful things. Less waste, more care. Before we close, a few final quick tips. Keep a tiny notebook or the Notes app on your phone for variations you enjoy. Maybe you added basil citrus salt to roasted carrots, or your shrub tasted wonderful with ginger. Share what you learn. Small kitchen experiments are how we refine good, simple habits. Call to action and outro. If you enjoyed this slow, sensory episode and want more single jar recipes and safety first guidance, please subscribe to Earthy Remedy. You'll find the full written recipes, photos, and a printable safety checklist in the show notes. If you make these jars tonight, I'd love to hear. Send a voice message or tag Earthy Remedy on social and share a photo. This helps me know what to make next. Listen to your body. Trust the earth. Feel the difference. Thank you for being here with me and making something small and useful with your own hands. Until next time, good night, and may your kitchen feel like a quiet grove.